Hello guys, here is Mr. Christopher Oji, and let's solve some extra exercise on SOH CAH TOA. I'm solving the quiz number 7, 2020 to year 10, and we are going to work with more complicated exercises now. We are going to work with 2 steps exercise. They are not harder in terms of calculating, but they have more than one step to solve. So let's go. Question number 1. We have to round one place and we have to find angles in 2 exercises, okay? So let's start with number 1. We put it here in the screen properly. Right, so we have these 2 angles and we need to find both the size of both using such triangles. First of all, you have to start with a triangle in which you know one angle and one side at least, or if you have a triangle in that you know 2 sides is okay also, because you can use the 2 sides to figure out the angles. So you need at least 2 information: one angle and one side, or 2 sides. Let's go. Number 1. So I have to find this angle theta, but I don't know 2 sides of this triangle, so I have to figure out at least one more side to figure out at the end the size of this angle. So since we know this angle and this side, the hypotenuse of this triangle here, I'm gonna take this triangle, okay, and I'm gonna figure out this height here, this side, okay. This side represents the opposite side of 50. So I have to use the rule which is going to involve the opposite side and the hypotenuse. And this rule is going to be the sine rule, opposite side and hypotenuse. So the sine of the angle is going to be equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse, okay, SOH. Alright, let's go for it. I'm gonna construct here the sine of 50. The sine of 50 degrees is going to be equal the opposite side, in which I don't know. I'm calling this x, okay? Let me put x in red. Okay, x. Alright. X divided by 8. Okay? So, SOH, remember? That's the SOH rule. Sine, opposite, hypotenuse. SOH. Alright. So at the end, 8 is going to pass to the other side, multiplying. So x is going to be equal to 8 times the sine of 50. Okay, this is pretty much simple to find. Let's take our calculators. 8 times the sine of 50. This is going to be your answer. Rounded to 2 decimal places, 6.13. 6.13. Okay? 6.13. Right. Now that we know that this side represents 6.13, and I want to make it very clear for you, so let me take my tool here. Let me copy this image. Let's bring it to here. Now, let's put here the line. Let's put here the line. This line here is the line that I'm talking about. This is actually 6.13, right? 6.13. That's the length of this side. And we figure out that by using the SOH rule from this first triangle. Now we have to, once again, we have to relate the opposite side and the hypotenuse. So this is going to be the sine rule again. So the sine of theta, I don't have theta, I'm gonna use t, okay? The sine of theta, this angle here, is going to be equal to the opposite side. Okay, the opposite side is 6.13, okay, divided by 10. Okay, well, we are trying to figure out one angle, as always. Since we are trying to figure out one angle, we have to use the inverse function of our calculators, and that's what we're gonna do. Let me take mine. So the inverse function of tangent, tangent no, we are talking about the inverse function of sine, right? The inverse function of sine of 6.13, okay, divided by 10. 6.13 divided by 10. Okay, 37.8. So here t is going to be equal to the sine minus 1 of 6.13 divided by 10. So t is going to be equal to, let me take the answer here on my calculator, 37.8. Okay, this is for the first exercise. Alright, that's the answer. Putting another color. Fine, let me bring the second question now. Second question is this one. Once again, 2 steps, okay? We know the sides of this triangle here. We know one side and one angle. This is the minimum that we need of this triangle. We know the angle 26, and we also know the angle 17. Alright? And so we can figure out this side here in orange, this side here in orange. We have to figure out this side, because with it we're gonna relate these two sides to find theta. Alright? So this is the hypotenuse, and now we are working with the adjacent side because it's touching the 26 degrees angle. So what we can say here is that the sine of 26 degrees, and I'm working with this, let me put in orange, I'm working with this orange triangle, is going to be equal to the adjacent side. No, it's not the sine, sorry. We have to use the CAH rule, the cosine, because we have to relate adjacent and hypotenuse, okay? So forget about the SOH, we don't have the opposite side. We want to find the adjacent side. Alright? So let's back to our example here. So it's not the sine, it's the cosine, okay? It's the CAH rule. Cosine of the angle, adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. So adjacent here is the thing that we don't know, is the side that we don't know. So this is going to be x, okay? And this is going to be divided by 17, the hypotenuse, right? So the cosine, no, the x is going to be equal to 17 times cosine of 26. So x, let's go, 17 times the cosine of 26. This is 15.3. Let's round to 2 decimal places. 15.28. 15.28. Okay, I'm gonna carry two decimal places here, 15.28. Alright, now let's go for the final triangle. I will represent it in red here, just to show you. This is the red triangle that we're going to work around now. This one, the sides here, and finally the side, okay, that we already know. Okay, this side we know that it is 15.3 or 15.28. Alright, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Now we have the angle theta here, and we are relating the opposite side with the hypotenuse. Okay, the opposite side with the hypotenuse. So the opposite side with the hypotenuse is the sine rule, opposite and hypotenuse. And so the sine of theta, okay, the sine of theta, which I'm going to represent with this. Let me create this here. The sine of theta is going to be equal to the opposite side x, divided by the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse here is 25. Okay, and this is gonna give us or the next step of this equation is, just increase the size here. X is going to be equal to, oh sorry, let's replace x here by 15.28 divided by 25. Okay, so t, the thing that we are looking for, the angle theta, okay, is going to be the inverse function of sine with 15.28 divided by 25. So t is equal to, let's take our calculators, inverse function, shift the function. Okay, 15.28 divided by 25. Okay, if you want, you can close here the bracket. 15.28 divided by 25, the angle that we're gonna find at the end, 37.7 degrees. Okay, once again, we are trying to find an angle using the rules, so we have to use the inverse function of the sine function in this case, in this situation. All right, guys. So okay, that's the first exercise. Let's go for the next one. Okay, this is a word problem. A camera tripod has 3 equally spaced legs, each of length 1.75 meters, around a circle of radius 52 centimeters on horizontal ground. Find the angle that the legs make with the horizontal. Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna try to draw here for you the situation. Let's try to sketch here some drawing. So the exercise is telling me that I have this situation: a camera tripod, okay, tripod, 3 legs. So let me draw here these 3 legs. So I'm gonna draw like this: 1 leg here, 2 legs here, and now the 3rd leg here. Okay, 3rd leg here. So this is my camera tripod. If I have a camera, the camera would be right here. Okay, so let's talk about the legs and the circle. Okay, the circle has a radius of 52 centimeters. Okay, so this means that from the center of the circle, okay, to one of the sides, if this is the center, here is going to be 52 centimeters. Okay, 52 centimeters. All right. Let me put here 52. This is the radius of the circle. All right. The length of each leg is also known. The length of the legs are 1.75 meters. So we have to write down in the same unit 175 centimeters, right? 175 centimeters. All right. Don't forget, write down using the same unit. Now the question is, find the angle that the legs make with the horizontal. So the point is about this angle over here. This angle here. Okay? This angle here. Let me put it in another color here. I'll put it in red. Okay? This is the angle that we are looking for. The angle that the legs are making with the ground, with the horizontal ground here. Okay? So as you can see, I'm gonna draw here one more side of our triangle. I'm gonna draw this side here. Okay, this side, let me use another color. This side, it doesn't exist. We are just creating it. This is the height of the tripod or tripod. All right. So and this is a triangle in which we know two sides. 1.75 centimeters is the hypotenuse, right? And 52 is the adjacent side. Can you see? It's touching the angle. So we have to use the relation that we will use the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Okay, the adjacent and the hypotenuse, and adjacent and hypotenuse cosine, the CAH rule, adjacent and hypotenuse. Since we want to find the angle, remember, you're gonna use the inverse function. All right, so let's go. Let me write down here our work. Now that we have the problem here, I'm gonna write down the answer. Okay, the calculation. Let's go. So the CAH rule says that the cosine of the angle, I don't know the angle, so I'm gonna call it alpha. Okay, the cosine of alpha is going to be equal to CAH adjacent side, so adjacent side 52 divided by 175, the hypotenuse. Okay, so from here we can say, okay, we can say from this that, well, just arrange here. We can say from here that the angle alpha is equal to the inverse function of cosine, of 52 divided by 175. Can you see? I just passed the function cosine to the other side by the inverse function of cosine. Okay, so this is going to give you an angle. Okay, the question is, what angle has the cosine of 52 over 175? Okay, so let's find it. The inverse function of cosine of 52 divided by 175. Okay, this is gonna give me the angle of 72.7 degrees. Okay, so the legs are doing or are making an angle of 72.7 degrees. That's the answer. Okay, that's the answer. Well guys, that's it for this short quiz. I hope this was useful for you, and see you next video. Bye.